Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today is Question Time Answers April edition. So, first things first, I'm going to answer the questions in chronological order in the sense that if you ask the question right when the video came up, you can kind of know that it's going to be responded to towards the beginning. Conversely, if you ask later on, it'll be towards the end, and you can kind of just gauge where approximately I'm if you just skip through the video based on the order of the comments. Regardless of that being said, let us take a look at the questions themselves. So, we have Honor Knight saying this might have been asked before, but how did I get into PAD? Was I looking for something like it, or did I stumble upon it by accident? You promise you're not someone for marketing. You promise you're not. By the way, I love my videos. I'm glad to hear it. Well, I actually got into PAD because one day when I was taking the bus, I was reading a newspaper. This was many years ago. And in that newspaper, there's an article about this big game that was taking Japan by storm, so to speak. This is 2013 maybe? Probably 2013. So a tremendously long time ago. And maybe 12. I don't know. But I thought, wow, this sounds interesting. So then later on when I got home, I downloaded the game, and then the rest is history, so to speak. James Miller says, oh, this is what happened last time. They were too wordy. Apologize for that. Try to be more concise on what they want to know. If I have 3 wishes, what would it be? It can be literally anything. Well, I would like for my health issues to be resolved. That I think is just the biggest thing at this point in time, because I feel like if that is resolved, a lot of other things really can just fall into place. And other than that, just more so making sure the other people that are important in my life are healthy and happy as well, and maybe wishing for happiness if that's even possible. I don't have too many wild dreams or aspirations, so to speak. 8SLQS8 says, hi, Mantastic'c. Hope me and my family are doing well. They are doing well. Quick question. Do I remember the YouTuber Tyler Pad? He used to do pad videos and fell off the face of the earth. Know what happened to him? I know he exists. I don't actually consume YouTube videos or other things along that sort of idea. I'd look at pad stuff occasionally, but back then I didn't really know it existed, so to speak. So I knew he did make stuff, but I never actually watched any one of his videos. This was also a long time ago, too. Cammy says, hi, Mantastic'c. Has there been any moment in the past where I thought PAD was reaching its limit and could never propose anything new? I don't, I think with every year that passes, it gets kind of more and more like that, so to speak, because I feel like with the transforming meta, Gung-Ho has kind of dug themselves into a little bit of a hole in the sense that you have to transform to be truly great, because transforming cards just are overtuned. They don't have any wasted awakenings, so to speak, because skill boosts are wasteful once you've actually, gone past floor 1. And it's going to be hard, I think, for non-transforming cards to keep up. But at the same time, they have done a good job with having double damage cap being kind of necessary, which in turn makes it so some transforming or some non-transforming cards become more viable. But as leaders, the looping systems are kind of the way to go. It's kind of be weird if you don't have a looping system to guarantee activation. Connie Utterback says, what do I think is the best way to solve a situation where a person is trying to extort you? Someone tried to extort them recently and you think their actions could have been better. Extortion means I feel just taking something from you without your consent. I feel like you need to clarify the situation, perhaps figure out why they're wanting these things. Is there a possible compromise that works for both parties? Of course, at the same time, I don't quite know exactly what is happening. For Cammy says they don't want to think about it, but how many years do you think we have us until PAD server shuts down? Right now, everything is looking good, because if you think about it, every time a new collab comes to North America or to Japan, it's a sign that the game is doing well. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Gung-Ho is a business who is in the business of making money. Their goal is to make money, not make you happy. And they don't do collabs unless they know that they're going to make money. So it costs money to get those licensing. It costs money to keep things going. So they wouldn't do it out of the goodness of their heart. They're in it to make money. And whenever these new things get released, new content, new stuff and whatnot, that's a good sign that the game is doing well. So I don't foresee it shutting down anytime soon, in all honesty. Raul Bastida says, hello, Mr. Mantastic'c. Hope I'm doing well. Since I showed off my miniatures, I was curious. On average, how long does it take to paint? It depends on the size of the miniature and the complexity and how much detail I really want to go into. I actually painted something today. It's Hades. He's not from the Rare Machine. He's quite big, actually. He's quite large. And he's kind of glowing. He's got cool aspects. I don't know how many hours it took me. I think a large part of the issue for painting is you need to have a vision, so to speak. And for Hades here, I had a vision. I knew exactly what colors I wanted to use. I actually have, I think these are all the colors I use. Like, that's eye drops. These are all the different colors I used, so to speak. Like, quite a few different things. And then, like, a thing of bronze or a copper as well, which I have put back away. But, like, I had a vision of what I wanted to do, and that saves so much time. And I've done certain techniques like that beforehand. Like, the flowing robe, I've done that beforehand. So it's nothing that's, like, super new to me, so that helps. But several hours, and I do take breaks. I actually do use both my hands. Like, Hades is painted, like, maybe 50% left and 50% right hand. So, like, the big block colors, I just do my left hand. Precision is not the greatest, and then like the more precision detailed spots I bring in my right hand. So I take breaks, and like, I don't know, several hours is a good guesstimate, but again, it depends on how much effort I want to do, like, on a miniature, like how detailed and how motivated I am. But several hours for sure, I'd say, especially those bigger ones. Ricky F. Saya says, no question from them, just want to drop a couple of sentences. They appreciate my work and content about pad on my main channel, that they look for about pad info, especially my in-depth review analysis about team building, really helps them planning for their team out. And also my paint job was really amazing. They love the grading and the detail I made into the wings. I love your compliments and your kind words. I do truly appreciate it, Ricky. Thank you so much. Azakui says, how many chickens does it take to kill a lion? How big are these chickens? I feel like that's a question of like, what would be more dangerous? Like 100 regular sized chickens or like one giant chicken? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But I don't know. Probably lots of chickens. Chickens don't seem quite so, dangerous. Alex Harlander says, if I load up a weapon assist of a card of skill delay, resist latents, does the skill delay for the weapon assist work for the weapon while assisting the monster during the game? No, it does not work. Any latents thrown onto your weapon assist do not convert over onto the inherited card. The Awakening is the only thing transferred along with stat bonuses if they are on color. So if you have this like a red weapon inherited on a red card, you get some stats transferred, but that's all that is. Not the SDRs, not any other latent there. Pretty crazy if it did give latents though. Joshua says, are there any playstyles in pad that I would like to be seen more prominent? As an example, Rainbow Teams recently made a comeback thanks to Raffine and Atelli. Well, I feel like I don't know, I've always enjoyed the Rose style. I'm not sure why that's the case. Maybe because it looks like aesthetically pleasing, so maybe I would just like to see more robe style based teams. VDP for some reason doesn't look as nice to me, like aesthetically. So again, yeah, Rose. Really just Rose. And maybe blue. Maybe that's why I like Royal Oak so much, because I do like blue. Or purple. Purple's not bad too. Or dark. Omarion says, what video games did I play as a kid? I played Warcraft 3. That is probably the defining video game of my childhood. I spent more hours playing Warcraft 3 than anything else. And for those who did play Warcraft 3 in the past, it wasn't necessarily for the game itself. The campaign was great. The story was pretty great. But after you beat that, it's all about the online world. And then the actual game is fun, but Dota 1 was revolutionary at the time. And some of like my more fond memories of high school is like playing Dota 1 LAN parties with my friends. Like a group of 5 of us on one team in the same room. Oh, absolutely amazing. I would love to have those moments again. But at the same time, that's probably why I like board games, because similar idea. You have to be in person and you're most likely going to be engaged and present. And hopefully, if I can swing it, I make sure everyone puts their phone aside so they can't touch it. Superman says, if someone behaves badly towards you, is it ever your fault? What's my opinion on this? Well, it depends on your own behavior. Like, I like to feel that there are justifiable responses to your own actions. So if you're acting in a poor manner, it's not unreasonable for someone to behave badly towards you. Like, you insult someone in some way, shape, or form, they're probably not going to be as nice towards you. Agent Smith says, I think pineapple belongs on pizza. I personally don't like it. I can understand the concept of mixing savory and sweet. It is a common method in cooking. Like, you just want to have as many different layers of dimensions, so to speak. And it does make sense, but to me it's not something I grew up with, and to me it seems a little unusual. Princess Fiona says, there are 2 doors, 2 guards. One always lies, one always tells the truth. What question would I ask to get the door to heaven? Oh gosh. Oh, these riddle logic puzzles. I remember I read some of these when I was younger. There was a book. I forgot I don't know what the book was about, but it has several books. I read quite a few books. It wasn't really a book though, but it was various logic puzzles like this. And I remember this question was in it and I forgot the answer and I can't come up with an answer that's viable. Because if I say who is lying, both of them would say each other. So I have to find a question where I can isolate the liars, so to speak. Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know. There's an answer in there somewhere. Bart Simpson says, what I think civilization will end, or when do you think it will end, and explain how it will end. Well, I feel like it's just human greed, so to speak. Like, a large chunk of conflicts are caused by greed or just differing beliefs, which oftentimes comes down to religion, especially like hundreds of years ago. So I feel like it's just going to be like humans' desire to want more than they have that's going to cause conflict and issues. Environmental concerns are obviously a problem, but I feel like wars and like just pillaging like the earth itself, so to speak, I think is where it's going to crumble down, because like a large part of civilization depends on like supply chains, and we've seen like how supply chains get disrupted in COVID, and it's obviously not the greatest because a lot of things like cost more, it's harder to get things, and if it gets worse and worse, so to speak, like more extreme, then that's going to be problematic. Pineapple Cone says, are birds actually dinosaurs? I believe that they did evolve from dinosaurs to a certain extent. Like, they're more closely related to dinosaurs than we are, for instance. But I don't know if we can call them a dinosaur, so to speak. But then again, I feel like they are kind of like the great-great-great-great-grandchildren, so to speak, of dinosaurs. Samsung Photo Account says, can God heat burritos to the point of God not being able to touch it? I don't know how, I don't know where you come up with this question, but it's kind of a weird concept. I don't know. The concept of like God and like an omniscient being is someone who can do anything. So I feel like the answer to be no, they could handle it. Agent Smith says, why do bad people do bad things? Do you think they will ever change? I think it's like conditioning being brought up. Like if you are only exposed to bad things growing up, you're much more likely to emulate or replicate that behavior. So I feel like upbringing is a large component of how people turn out later on. Obviously, you can make changes and improvements, but your childhood is definitely the largest shaper of your personality, I feel. I could be wrong, of course. Duke, with lots of lines, says, do you think they'll ever rework the Super Awakenings? Explanation. Well, I feel like the roulette system is tedious. Like, I would much prefer, before I read the rest of your comment, I would much prefer the Super Awakening system to be something that you pay, even maybe say like a bit more pluses to do the roulette, but then once you've unlocked a respective awakening, it can never be rolled again, and you can freely swap in and out between Super Awakenings you've already paid for and, acquired. I think that would be the best solution. And that same logic can extend to latent resist. Like, there are times where I want to have like leader swap on my leader, but I also maybe want skill delay resist for other stuff. And it's annoying to having to waste them, so to speak, swapping back and forth. So you may want 2 copies. I would much prefer it if you could like fuse them and you can have that option of swapping in and out. It's like equipment, so to speak. With that being said, Duke says, for someone such as myself who isn't seriously competitive but still tries to keep up with what's new in the game, they find it really hard to keep any amount of plus points, and ways to get them are meh. With the new cards coming in so frequently and having to make sacrifices, they usually won't make to make sure they have a resource to keep with the meta or just have fun and done teams. Yeah, exactly. Like, it is definitely quite draining. Like, at the same time, if you are able to beat Shura 2, you are able to acquire large amounts of pluses if that is something that you are low on a regular basis. But it's a frustrating system, I think, overall. More, Amu says, I love you, Mr. Mantastic. Do you love me? I've only just met you. It's hard for me to commit to love on such short notice, unfortunately. X-Random Donald says, hey, Mantastic, their girlfriend started playing Raid Shadow Legend after seeing so many ads. Do I happen to know why Gunko doesn't do ads like Raid Shadow Legend does? Seems like marketing does work if you're annoying enough. I'm not sure. Maybe, I think in Japan they might do more marketing, but maybe in North America they don't. But at the same time, if you, like, say, are watching pad ads, you're obviously not going to see an ad for pad in those ads. And for myself, I don't really get exposed to many ads, so to speak. So I feel like AFK Arena, like Mobile Legends, like I think those are the games I see like advertised the most, keep popping up. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like, marketing does work, and like if you just keep seeing it over and over again, you have like a similar sound, you have a similar like jingle, not necessarily, like kind of like what I do with my YouTube videos. When I start a YouTube video, I have the same introduction, and you kind of know this is who it is. I do say my name, but point of the matter is, repetition does work, and marketing does work at the same time. Darla D says, what do you want as my career? Is this something you wanted to be as a kid? It's not something I expected to be put in this situation. I had many health issues that kind of changed my life, so to speak. It does have perks and benefits, but like my health is getting worse and it makes it harder to even do this sort of stuff, which is unfortunate. But if I think about it, like maybe if I was like more successful at what I did currently, I could tell my younger self, hey, you're gonna be playing video games when you get older. People are gonna love it and watch you, and you make money off of it. I'd be like, wow, really? It'd be kind of mesmerizing, but at the same time, I'm not particularly successful, unfortunately. So it's kind of middling lukewarmness, so to speak. Jack Italian says, what is hands but doesn't clap? Clock. A clock is hands and they don't clap. Obama Lincoln says, what is a head, a tail, is brown and has no legs? Oh gosh. A snake? Snake works. Michelle Paris says, what's the best way to take pictures of me and my friends? Do you take pictures of you and your friends? When would that be? That's a good question. I actually don't take pictures really at all when I think about it. Like, I just haven't. I just don't. Like, I do have my face put out there, so to speak. Like, you're watching a video right now with my face, so to speak. But in, like, my personal life, I seldom actually take pictures of myself or, like, others. Like, if there's like a group over, we might do like a group picture and we're all there, but it's not me taking the pictures. It's usually Pancake or someone else who's more knowledgeable of photos. Like I only just recently, I think maybe like 6 months ago, I got this phone from my mom. It's my mom's old phone. And it actually has a pretty decent camera. So from time to time, I do send selfies to Pancake and it does make her happy. But like, I don't know what's the best way to take photos. I don't know what's good flattering angles, so to speak. Ricky Morty says, have I played any board games recently? Oh, so many recently. Board games are my big favorite hobbies, so to speak. And what is it called? Well, on the weekend, I had Melvin or Chip come over, and we played Massive Darkness 2, which is a cooperative dungeon crawler. It was wonderfully fun, and we were successful. It was pretty fun. He was a tinkerer, and he was summoning constructs, and there was a giant roaming monster who was basically, like, souped and powered up. And the goal is to kill it, but we have to, like, explore the dungeon, loot treasure chests, kill other monsters, get gear, level up, then we can fight it because it's way too strong at the moment it's part of the quest scenario. And the Tinkerer of Melvin, he would just summon a construct and the construct would get absolutely deleted and obliterated by the roaming monster, but it means we weren't getting hit, so it was a nice thing. And then we played Spirit Island, which is, I'd say, my favorite board game of all time. If you love complex cooperative or solo-based games, Spirit Island is the best thing ever. I have hundreds, not exaggerations, hundreds of plays, and it's still fun and exciting. And then we played Nemesis afterwards. And Nemesis is possibly my second favorite board game of all time, with the right group. It has to be at least 4 people, but 5 is ideal. And Nemesis is a board game where you're on a ship, and you wake up from hibernation and you realize it's infested with aliens, and you actually see Nemesis boxes in the background, and your objective is to complete your secret objective, which could be helping other people or even harming other people, and survive. And surviving is hard. But on Saturday, the 4 of us, we actually all managed to survive with only one person not fulfilling their objective, but they did survive, which is quite unusual most of the time. Most of the time, someone does die quite often, and it makes it more exciting. Bob and Chenef said, Milky Galaxy says, why am I super cool? You're awesome. Have a nice day. Well, you, Milky Way Galaxy, are equally wonderful and awesome. Thank you for the kind words. Bob Chenef says, do I miss the good old days when we used Odin and Chaos Dragon as a leader to beat Hera? Back then we can't even hit damage caps. It was a different time, so to speak. Like, Pad, I felt like, well, now with Vitelli and some Rainbow teams, the puzzling aspect is back, but at the same time, consistency and, like, the frustration of longer dungeons is kind of there. Like, when dungeons are so long and take potentially even an hour to finish, one little mistake ends the run, it doesn't feel so great. So I feel like Pad has definitely like transitioned away from a game that you can pick up and play and put down. It's not so much like this nowadays. Nowadays, if you want to play hard stuff, you have to research it intensely, which could take a long time, play it perfectly, one small mistake and you lose. It's become a very different game compared to before, for sure. Chrissy Ka says, I really hope we're not being annoying. We are listening to my suggestions like conciseness and short. No one is tricking me. We all like listen to what my thoughts are on random topics. Well, I do appreciate it, Chrissy, but I would prefer it if you just used one account instead. Barbara Streisand says, say hi to Mantastic'c. She is pretty awesome for obtaining a master's degree in information technology. It's difficult to achieve. I will whenever I see her again, but she's far away in Squamish compared to where I am in Vancouver, unfortunately. Well, far enough away, and I haven't seen her for a while. Canning Trin says, should I be worried about someone spying on them through a webcam? I guess it's a possibility. If you're truly paranoid, just attach a little sticky note on the top of it and then no one's going to be able to see you. I'm not sure if it's a valid concern or not. Kay Sian says, which world would I live in? Forest, desert, or Arctic? What is most favorable for me? I would say, well, you said desert, but I'm assuming desert is what you meant. I don't want to live in a land of cake. But what would I live in? I would like to live in a forest if possible. Like, I think it has the most pleasant environment. Like desert, too hot, too dry. Arctic, too cold and just unpleasantly cold. Forests can have a wider range, and like trees are beautiful. Trees provide shade. I like trees. I like to look at trees when I look outside, so to speak. So yeah, forest for sure. And Calvin Wong is right. It is not cake land. Chinggis Khan says, when hanging out with someone, what is more important, the time or the activity together? I like to feel like spending quality time with someone. The activity is important, but if everyone is present in the moment and you're having a good time, I think that's what's most important. What would prevent me from hanging out with someone temporarily? I feel like it's just people being busy or like too busy to hang out, because if I think about it, to a certain extent, most people have time to do something that they would want to do. But if hanging out with you is not on the top of the priority list, they won't make time. But if something is truly important enough, people tend to make time for it. I think that's the biggest limiting factor. But of course, having a fun and great activity enhances the experience overall. So if you can find an activity that both parties enjoy, I think that's what's most important, perhaps. Like, that would ensure that like the time together is more enjoyable, that sort of idea. Friendly Line says, do I want to ever try having a full-time job in the future? What do I think is too difficult for me? What job would I want? How would I support myself in the future? Friendly Line, that's a difficult question to ask because my health keeps deteriorating over time. I've noticed like in the past year and a half, my wrists have been progressively getting worse. My back is actually flaring up more often, which makes it much harder to do things. Like even before I could go out for maybe like an hour or so, like obviously sitting down frequently, but now it's getting harder and harder. Like I come back and I'm in so much pain. Flare-up could last for like several days and I have like no capacity to function. So it's challenging to make these like lofty dreams or goals, so to speak, but I'm trying to do what I can. I keep my spending down as much as possible. Like I truly believe that I live within my means. Like I don't overextend myself. If like something is too expensive, I just don't. And also at the same time, I don't really go out. I don't really like spend money frivolously. I'm quite conservative. So like I just need to like readjust like expectations and based on like my current situation. Alex Garcia says, if a girl is losing interest in dating you, she just let it be. Do we have control of other people's amount of interest? It's hard to control other people's interests, so to speak, but like I guess it comes down to how long you've been dating the person. Are you still emotionally invested in them? Are you drifting apart for what? Like, what's the reason why you are drifting apart? So I feel like if it's a newer relationship, like it may be best to cut the cord, so to speak. And at least in this day and age, it's much easier to meet people through the internet because like it's just convenient. Like if you can meet so many more people compared to beforehand. So like I guess it comes down to like how old this relationship is and whether or not it is salvageable and what is the problems or that are occurring. Some YouTuber, what an interesting and amusing name, says they've read many Stanley Robinson books, so that's like Red Mars, Green Mars, etc. They can recommend New York 2140 and Red Moon. Those are really interesting to read. Are they by the same author? If they are, maybe I'll take a look. I need to start Blue Mars. I haven't been reading as much. I've taken about a month off from reading, actually, because I've been painting in this past month. I don't know. They're not quite the same activity, but, like, again, you make time for things that are important. I feel like I'm going to start reading a bit more again as well. So maybe, like, later on this month, I'll pick up Blue Mars. But maybe if I like Blue Mars and if the trilogy ends well, maybe I will look into reading more Stanley Robinson books. But thank you for the recommendations. Jane Nguyen says, is waiting for someone worth it? They asked a guy out and he said he couldn't because he needed to finish up with his finals. Would you wait for him if I were in position? Well, finals are a justifiable reason for someone to be busy. Like, it is important to them. But at the same time, if they're constantly dodging and if, like, those, like, finals should be soon, actually. Like, this time frame, like, a month or two or so. Like, so I guess it comes down to how interested. Like, are they responsive to you? Are they giving just one-word answers? That's a good indication that they're not interested. But at the same time, if they are responsive, they do reply in detail, like it shows that they are interested. Like you can kind of tell when someone's interested by how much they respond. Like if it's like 1 or 2 word responses, nothing else, you kind of know that's not a good sign. But if they carry on the conversation, that is a good sign that they are interested. Like again, this is at least something that is reasonably justifiable and is a short-term thing. If they keep saying no even after finals for other reasons, then you may be barking up the wrong tree, so to speak. Janice Franco says, how can I tell between someone being nice versus them being genuinely interested? I feel like people who are genuinely interested want to know more about you. So if you find yourself talking more than listening, that may, like, not because like you're just trying to hog the conversation, but because they're prompting you to, that's probably a good indication that they are genuinely interested. Because I think a lot of people do like to talk or gush about the topics they do enjoy. Like if I talk about things I like or love, I get more excited. I think I have a better time from my own perception. So if someone's encouraging you to like gush about your things that you love and enjoy, I think that's a bit more genuinely interested. But just being nice and polite is someone who just kind of like does kind of the bare minimum, but nothing to like offend you, or so to speak. Shashka Zen says, I paint really well. How long have I been painting for? I started in early 2020, so like about 2 years, but I was been on and off quite a bit. Like when I don't have something to paint, I don't really paint. So there's at least like almost a year's time where I didn't paint in that 2-year window, like on and off, like here and there, like several months, no painting, paint for a bit, that sort of thing. So I improved. Like I think I have reasonably steady hands and my wrists don't bother me, but it just takes time and I'm genuinely interested in it. And I think I have, like I said, steady hands. I guess I have a key, my eyesight is good enough to pick out details, and I think I'm reasonably smart in the sense that I can learn some skills, especially skills that I'm interested in, pretty fast. And to a certain extent, painting miniatures is like paint by numbers in the sense that I don't have to create like the shape or figurine. Like if I had to paint a canvas artwork, I would probably not do so great when I think about it. But on a miniature, I have this guidance of where I put stuff, so that helps. And at the same time, I love it because it makes my board games come to life. They say it looks detailed. Do not think they can do what you do. Do I practice every day? How do I practice? I paint when I want, but it's just a matter of like learning some basic techniques. This is kind of a bit of an off tangent, but teaching a skill to someone else is one of the best ways for you to actually learn and master a skill. And at least internally for myself, teaching myself to paint left-handed actually, I think, improved my painting skills because I had to like think and kind of break down how do I do this again, like almost returning to basics. And I feel like it helped build me up. And at the same, like, so yeah, if you can teach a skill to someone, it definitely shows that you have a bit more mastery of said skill. But again, it takes time. And my painting style is a little different. I've now started gravitating heavily towards makeup brushes. Like that Hades model, I might as well show it now, like the Hades model, like he's big. I use like all 4 of these different makeup brushes along with all of these brushes as well. So 8 different brushes I use to make it come to life because each brush does a little different thing. Again, maybe that's a little excessive, but like sometimes it's just sizing. Like I like to use the biggest brush possible for the task because it's faster. Thomas Nago says, what made Sis Tactic to go into information security? Does she have any role models? Who are they? Maybe my mom, I'd say, did. My mom has an MBA and she does have a mathematics degree as her bachelor's. So my mom is highly educated. She does work in project management, and I feel like my mom greatly influenced my sister. So I feel like all those questions kind of fall down to like my mom influencing her, and at the same time, job security. It's like my sister has a master's degree in computer science. She's going to be quite secure in getting a job. It's just a matter of getting a high enough paying job for her own education. She'll always be able to get hired, so to speak. Baby Firefighter says, what are some things in life that I am grateful for? I'm grateful for my lovely audience. Like you, ladies and gentlemen, help me through challenging times, so to speak, because it gives me like an avenue to like maybe like vent or like express my joy for certain things and just give a way for me to like connect with other people because I don't really go out so much. So I think I'm grateful for that, as long as my family, who is still healthy and doing well, and Pancake as well. David Shumonia says, what are 3 habits that will improve your life? What are 3 habits that will? Routines make a biggest difference, I feel. Like having a routine helps. Like I think that's important. Like having a strong sleep routine or sleep hygiene is important because when you go to bed, I like to think that the half an hour to even hour before going to bed should be as calm as possible. Let's say you watch an intense movie or you're playing video games, then you try and go to bed. You're still probably ramped up and it's going to take you longer to fall asleep and you may possibly get lower quality sleep. But by comparison, if you are able to like say like, I'm just going to like read a book, it's a little less stimulating compared to a video game for sure, or maybe take a bath. Or do some stretching, like take a long shower and then do some stretching afterwards. Those sort of things will help ease you into sleep a bit better. Like you're calmer. Like being stimulated is the worst thing. So I feel like just having the like healthier routines like that is probably a big thing. I know it's not 3 things, but I think sleep hygiene is probably one of the biggest things that, and especially for myself, I have difficulty sleeping, so I try my best to find ways to like make it better overall. Curry Water says, if I can have lunch with one person alive or dead, who would it be? I honestly don't know about like any historical figure. Like I have no personal attachment to any historical figure. Like I do like certain musicians, but like not enough to like, I really want to just meet them and talk with them. I feel like I just want to have lunch with Pancake maybe. Maybe we'll go out to somewhere nice and I can have a pleasant time. Like we can get served, that sort of thing. Husky Lover says, what I think the challenges the next generation will face. I think, well, in Vancouver and like I guess the extended Vancouver area is cost of living. Housing prices are just astronomically through the roof. It does not make sense. Like a lot of people won't even make in their entire lifetime post-tax the amount of money needed to get a small condo. That's kind of crazy in my head. So I feel like the wealth gap, if you didn't inherit wealth or you're just younger, I think that's the problem. Like if you're like still in high school, like you obviously have not like built up massive amounts of wealth, you're still in high school, and then you graduate, you have to like, you're probably going to get like, maybe you'll probably do more schooling, and then by the time you are able to start working like many years later, everything may be just completely out of reach from a pricing point of view, and I think that's going to be the hardest part. So I think what would happen is people who grew up in a city that is apparently too expensive will end up not being able to live where they grew up in, even if they are making an average wage. I think average wage in Vancouver is maybe like 35, maybe 40K range, and a 1-bedroom condo costs, not even downtown, just like not downtown, $500,000 plus. And 35, 40K is pre-tax, so go down to like 30-ish K, and like, yeah, that's going to take you a long time to actually, pay off. So I think that's going to be the biggest problem for younger people, so to speak, at least in Vancouver, because that's all I know. I moved to Vancouver when I was 6. This is all I know. Justice League says, what is there one of in every corner and 2 of in every room? These weird logic puzzles. I can't come up with a good answer off the top of my head. In every corner and 2 in every room. I'm looking around the room. I don't know, unfortunately, Justice League. Andy Warhol says, what is stronger than steel but can't handle the sun? What do you mean by stronger than steel but can't handle the sun? I don't know. These are puzzles. I can't come up with good answers on the top of my head. Mountainous Val says, the moon, the more there is, the less you see. What am I? I don't know. Miss Dravia says, how do 8 8s add up to 1,000? I don't know. These are unusual questions. Harshbeat says, do I ever think all online multiplayer games are like this? Like in the beginning of the game, it's very slow. Time progresses, you see power creep, more efficiency. You used to have 10 minutes down, now you have 3. Well, like slow... Pad is different in the sense that like we were gated by stamina refilling. If stamina was refilled faster, the early game of Pad would be quite quick, potentially, as well. But I think, if anything, the early game of... Like, I feel like there's a honeymoon phase of any game in the sense that, like, the first, like, say, 5-10 hours are the most exciting. In the sense that everything is new. There's so much to do. You're poor. You need all these resources to do all these things, so you just want to keep playing and playing and playing. But after, like, that, like, certain, like, honeymoon phase, after you overcome that initial hump, so to speak, then it comes down to, is this game good enough to actually make me want to play? Because, if anything, things are slower and harder compared to beforehand. It's much, like, more difficult to acquire resources compared to before. Like, if you think about it, evolution materials were pretty straightforward. Now we need these ginormous, gigantic, I don't even know what the name is anymore, but like the biggest of the big gems. And those gigantic gems, whatever they're called, need so many evolution materials in order to actually function. It requires lots of playing. So if anything, it actually gets harder, I think, as the game ages and as you progress in a game. Everything takes longer to do. Drummer Sting says, what is the latest movie I have seen? I haven't watched many movies lately. I've been watching a bit of TV series. I'm currently watching The Last Kingdom, which is amazing. I highly recommend The Last Kingdom. But from movies' point of view, I'm trying to remember what's something I've watched recently. Because Pancake and I haven't watched a movie for a bit. We watched Tick, Tick, Boom maybe like a month or two ago. That's the only thing that's coming to my mind. I guess if I open up Netflix, I can take a look at what I've watched recently. But Tick, Tick, Boom was great. I greatly enjoyed it, despite it being a musical. I didn't think I liked musicals, but I liked that musical. Lawrence Production says, if the Earth is one supergiant continent, how do you think it will affect civilization? Well, everyone's closer, and I feel like civilizations would have developed faster over time because a large part of the issue is being gatekept, so to speak, by this giant ocean in between. How will it affect the weather everywhere? I'm not sure how that would affect the weather, to be honest. And what do you think is true that Earth used to be a supergiant continent? I wouldn't be surprised if it was one giant landmass. Like, there are, like tectonic plate activity does exist, and it's not surprising that over millions of years or billions of years things happen. Like, humans exist on a microscopic scale. Like, we're like a little pin drop. I feel like there's a timeline on Earth. We're not even a pin blip from like the billions of years the Earth has been around. So it's not surprising things change and move over time. Erica Sofian says, does dreams have actual meaning in life? Recently keep dreaming in their sleep that their ex came back to them, but they're not sure if that can be an omen or night. When they dream, does it ever happen in real life? If it does, I feel like it's just purely coincidence. I feel like dreams are possibly remnants of what you were thinking about during the day. Hence why if you have a poor sleep routine beforehand, you're doing something stimulating, you go to bed, all you're thinking about is that particular thing getting hyped up, perhaps. And then what do I learn about dreams and about what happened in real life? I don't think there's any correlation between dream and real life, aside from just things you were thinking about beforehand. Basketball says, how can I tell if someone is lying to me or not? What are some features that would reveal the truth? I feel like it's just inconsistencies. Like, they can't potentially inconsistencies are a big way to spot lying, I'd say, or just not disclosing many details. Like, the more detailed an explanation is, the harder it is to lie, because then you have to remember more of those things, which in turn makes it harder to like prevent holes being poked into it, so to speak. Batman Beyond says, is karma actually real? Like, if you did something really bad, it will return to you in the future? I don't think so. I feel like karma is just a concept we made up. But at the same time, you can kind of argue that, like, if you're doing poor things to other people, it wouldn't be unsurprising if those people respond in kind to you. So, like, I guess that'd be the closest thing to karma. But in terms of, like, universal cosmic energy, like, balancing things, I don't think that's the case. Like, we've seen witness, like, to, like, various horrors and atrocities, and those individuals, they're not punished, or even like on smaller scales. Like, I've had an individual in my building harass me because I wore a mask, and I asked him to wear it. This is like during the height of COVID. He seems like an absolutely terrible person, but I don't know if he's suffering because of karma, so to speak. Pink Donut says, what is the best way to find love? They've been struggling and have no luck finding romantic love. What should I improve about myself to attract more women in their life? Well, I like the fact that you ask, like, what should you do to improve yourself? Because when you think about it, if you improve yourself, you're much more likely to attract people to you. And at the same time, maybe having, like, being confident and content with yourself. If someone gets the impression that you're insecure about yourself, it's going to be much harder to have a relationship with that person. But if you can, convey that you have, like, confidence, like, self-confidence, not to the point where you're egotistical, but, like, just being content with yourself, you know your own limitations, you know who you are, I think that's important, and that's definitely a shining aspect. In addition to that, you can definitely do things to improve, like, other things, like romantic love. As bad as it sounds, one of the first things you see is aesthetics. And to a certain extent, I think everyone can improve their own aesthetics through exercise and healthy living. Like, we can improve those things, and just being well put together, like just looking presentable. I think all those aspects will definitely improve who you are. But again, just knowing who you are and being content with yourself, I think, is a big step. Harry Potter says, should I pretend to be unknowledgeable about something when I actually know a lot? Some of their friends keep asking them to do stuff for them. Yes, they can do the stuff they ask, but I don't want to. I feel this to be considered deceiving. Don't you can just like not share unless called upon, so to speak. You don't need to announce to the world that you are skilled in XYZ talent. But at the same time, your friends keep asking you to do basically like free labor for them. That is pushing a limit. Like, you need to express them like you have your own stuff. You have the things you want to do. It's not something you want to do all the time. So I think that's important to share that aspect. But at the same time, if that continues to persist, just don't volunteer that you know all these things. I don't think it's necessarily deceitful, because at the same time, like, if someone, it's not part of the conversation, if anything, bringing it up might be like out of the flow. PewDiePew says, if someone leaves my life, how can I tell if it is because someone that is trying to sabotage my social life? Revenge porn? This is unusual. Or does a normal end? If the friendship ended via sabotage, could that have been prevented? I don't know. I feel like, if anything, friendships just drift apart distantly. You just stop communicating with each other. Like, if you have a falling out of your friends for whatever reason, like, at least for myself, I just stop talking to them. Like, at least now, because we don't, like, I'm not in school, I'm not going to see them physically unless, you know, we decide to meet up. So it's definitely easier to like drift apart. But again, at least for myself, drifting apart comes down to like just either something happened that like was problematic or offensive, or just life changes, unfortunately. So I feel like it should be like, you should be able to tell when some, like, whether it's like drifting apart or because of like some sort of event. Professor Science says, is it always best to let life flow the way how it will flow? What defines a good relationship? What is considered controlling behavior? Controlling behavior, I guess, is imposing your will upon someone else when it's not necessarily something that they want to do or have. But I feel like letting things flow is important, but again, controlling like the narrative does help, but you can't force everything. Just like, you want have like preferences, but you can't make everything go perfectly well, I feel. Again, maybe also just don't sweat the small stuff. Things that are beyond your control, just let it happen. Flounder says, if someone is making fun of you, well, how should you handle it? And in the case, if you were on the wrong, how do you know it is your fault or not? If we don't take fault some of the time, we become narcissistic. If someone's making fun of you, I guess it comes down to, are they doing it so in jest, or is it kind of like malicious? I think you need to be able to determine which it is. Like, for instance, like, I'll use Adam as an example, like one of my close friends for board gaming group. He's died every time in Nemesis. It's kind of a funny thing, so to speak. Like, even he laughs about it, but like, that's different. That's like playful jesting. But like, if I'm making fun of, like, say, a person's, like, say, like, something that's like beyond their control and a little malicious, then that's definitely a red line, a line you shouldn't cross, so to speak. But like, I guess it all comes down to like, is it playful and in jest, or you can just take it in stride, so to speak. Or if they're trying to elicit a response from you, just don't. Like an angry response, don't. Peter Nam says, how do I enjoy life when life comes crashing down on me? They're not feeling really good at this time. They're not feeling fulfilled anymore. I'm having a breakdown right now. Well, I feel like it's important to have a social network or someone you can talk to. So, like, it could be a friend, it could be even family, it could be a relationship partner, someone you can talk about things with, because it's difficult to bottle things up. Because I found, at least for myself, bottling problems up is a bad thing, because it's not going to, it's not healthy behavior, because then when the lid does come off, so to speak, you kind of explode. It's problematic. But when life comes crashing down on you, I think it's important to like figure out what are the things that you do enjoy and try and pursue those. And then perhaps try not to compare yourselves to others. And a good way to prevent comparing yourself to others is just don't look at social media. Inevitably, when you look at social media, like from like, say, like scrolling around, like if you're looking up particular like knowledgeable things, then that's a little different. But like if you're just scrolling mindlessly, you're seeing the highlights of other people's life, and that can make you feel worse about yourself potentially. So like, I would just like think about what are things that are meaningful to yourself, what are things that you value, what are things that bring or spark joy in your life, and try and pursue those activities. And at the same time, there's nothing wrong about not feeling good. Like, it's impossible to feel good and happy and chipper all the time. I feel sad quite often, but I try and like, I guess I just handle it in different ways. Like when I feel like sad or problematic or down, sometimes my activities will vary. Like I won't like put myself out there. I won't be able to stream if I'm not feeling well. Instead, I'll just take me time, so to speak. So there's nothing wrong about feeling sad. This doesn't mean you're a failure by any means. It's just, this is a normal response. And I think that's important. Like, you can't always be happy. And I think that's possibly something that could be misleading because you think everyone's happy all the time. That's not the case. But I do hope you find ways to spark joy in your life again, Peter. Scar says, greetings, Mr. Mantastic. Hope everything is going well on my end. They must say it. I paint real well. I do appreciate it. As for their questions, what is my favorite pad collab and what is my favorite collab card? To be fair, none of the collabs that have come have really been have any true emotional attachment to when I think about it, because none of the franchises are something that I really grew up knowing and whatnot. That it makes it hard for me to make that personal connection, so to speak. I did play Magic the Gathering at some point, way after the collab came, but I feel like if I did play Magic beforehand, that would, if it was just reversed, I played Magic and then the Magic Gathering collab did come, I'd probably be more like, hey, this is pretty cool, because, I have a bit more emotional attachment to those cards. Is there any cards I don't have yet that I really want? My box is pretty well set for the most part. I feel like just top rarity, seasonal, and collab cards are the things I tend to be missing most of the time. And those tend to just have the longest longevity. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head, because right now, at least I can clear everything when I'm able to play. And then finally, how am I Pancake doing? When they asked last month, but I want to check me. I do appreciate you checking up on us. We're doing well, I'd say, overall. We do have a strong communication network, so to speak, in the sense that we're able to talk about anything and everything with each other. We're each other's best friends, which does make it easier. But at the same time, I know the value of having space and me time. So Pancake wants me time and space, I give her that space. I have nothing wrong with that. I'm a patient individual. I know she'll come back to me. I trust her enough for that. So if she wants to go out with friends, I'm perfectly fine with that. I say, go and have a good time. And then I guess I get some me time for myself. And then saying, finally, thank you for all the time and have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday as well, Scar. And then Dater Synonymous says, when me and Pancake were dating or talking to each other on Tinder, how was the chemistry? I'd say it was quite good because we obviously had good banter back and forth. I don't have Tinder anymore. I can't go through those conversations, but it was good. Conversation flowed. We were able to talk, ask questions about each other, learn a bit more, and then reciprocate. Do I too talk every day, and how long is the conversation? We definitely talked every day for sure. It could be on and off. Texting is definitely you respond when you are able to respond type of thing. That's at least my point of view. If someone texts me, I respond when it's convenient. If you call me, then I'm much more likely to try and reply or call back for that reason. And what did I do talk about? I guess whatever, things about it, just getting to know each other, interests and hobbies, likes, dislikes, that sort of thing, just learning about each other. And I find that helps if you ask questions about someone, they get more interested, and then maybe they respond in kind. Next is Cupid Bear saying, how do I define sexual coercion? If a partner says no, she ever asked that again? No means no to me. Well, one have to be assertive to get sex, but some people can view that as desperate. Assertive and desperate. No means no. I think that's the most important thing. But when you're in a consensual relationship, it could be a turn on when someone is assertive and say dominant, so to speak. But again, it comes down to, do you have consent? Looking desperate, I don't know, I think consent is important. I think that's just the biggest thing overall. And assertiveness is when we know what each other want, and then just asking for it, so to speak. And then and then 67 comments, and this concludes question time, ladies and gentlemen. So, hopefully this video provides you with a little bit more insight as to the responses I gave. And with that being said, I wish each and every one the very best of luck in your own pet adventures. Hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday, and happy puzzling.